Hello, Pandit. And hi, everybody. Thanks for including us in this interview series, and we're very happy to be part of it.
Yeah, I'm Joel Martinez. I'm an architect. Also with Fernanda, we have this studio based in Chihuahua, Mexico, with projects in some cities in Mexico, nationally speaking, essentially in Mexico City, and also in Tulum, which is in the Riviera, right? And
The Riviera Maya,
yeah, the
which is
Riviera.
South Mexico.
Yeah, we have been having this the studio for the last 8 or 9 years or so, something like that. Before that, we lived in Hawaii. We lived and worked in Hawaii for almost 4 years, and we worked in different studios in Hawaii, and then we came back to Mexico to establish our own studio, and since then we have been having different kind of projects, and essentially projects in office infrastructure, housing mostly,
Yeah.
no? And yeah, we have been here in Chihuahua for the last year and a half, and before that we were in Mexico City. Well, I'm not sure if the correct word is to be worthwhile. At least for us, it is. I think it's the kind of projects that we did, or what we have been doing, is one of is essentially some of the projects are quite normal, right? We started from the very beginning, just like designing really small things, just starting to grow in the profession.
I guess that the first project we had after coming back from Hawaii was a bathroom of an office. And that's how we started, basically. I guess when you're by yourself, you have to be very realistic about like how to start. Sometimes you imagine that you're gonna go out and then the most interesting museum,
Of course, no, or to winning a competition or something, right?
it's gonna come to you, and the reality is that you, for most of us who had basically no connections or no money behind us
Yeah,
to start a big office, we have to start from zero. And it might sound like a little project, but that bathroom opened the door for a really big thing, and that's how we started in Mexico. It was for a guy that he wanted to renovate his office, but then he realized that we could do something else. And then after the bathroom, we renovated the whole office, and then he gave us a landscape design for his house.
yeah.
And from there we started, and we grew up a lot with him.
Yeah, and I think the important thing here, besides obviously the client is really important, is I think is that the culturally is based. Our culture is based on working our ass off, if I can say it. I mean, we needed to demonstrate because we didn't have anything else. That's why we always say, right, like, since we don't have anything else, this is all we have. So we better just make a good punch and take the opportunity to come up with something interesting, right?
Yeah.
So I think since then we started to grow on our motto or on our way of thinking, that it needed to be right for us. We needed to be okay and pleasant with the design that we were delivering. We were not thinking about money. Actually, I think the bathroom was like, we put some money on it and the first job, because it took a long time and a lot of work to actually convince the client and to go with different kind of materials and so on, right? Because they're not architects, they're not graphically based. I mean, they don't have that feeling, right? So we needed to show them that if we base our work on work by itself, we could deliver something that is worthwhile, just like you said, right? So that's we're not even talking about context or the environment, or if we're in Mexico City, or we're in the tropics, or we're in anywhere. We're only talking about work. And it was interesting because he was in this office was in the middle of the one of the biggest markets in Latin America. All the all the produces and all the vegetables and everything comes to this huge market in Mexico City, and from that point it goes it transfers the whole thing to, or all the products and everything to different cities and different parts of Mexico as a country. So, and was just one of those warehouses that congregates these vegetables and produce, right? So there's a story where the client was saying that once we were finished, because we also besides the office and this bathroom, we also designed and built the warehouse. We renovated the warehouse. So if you go there, it's like there are like, I don't know, 1,500 warehouses. It's massive. It's huge, the market. And this one, all the clients and all of his friends were saying that this was the boutique of the warehouses.
It was the onions boutique, because he only sells onions.
He only sells onions, right? But it was so nice,
yeah.
And it was so pleasant for the people that was there, and the lighting improved a lot. The way that all the circulations and everything improved a lot. So people were like, it really stood out of all of the rest of the warehouses. So I think that's, again, and it's only work just to put, in a way, put your soul in it, right? Just try to, and if you are able, to do your
even
best.
if it's a bathroom, do it the best you can.
Yeah, exactly. But anyways,
yeah.
So yeah, of course. I think that project, we have been saying this for the last couple of months, because we have been having some interviews, and we have been
conversations about it.
Exactly, we have been having the time to actually think about this, and we feel that that project, which is called Cuatro Cielos, or Four Skies, it is the project that transmit the most what we think about architecture, or what we think about how we approach to a project, or how we approach how to live a place.
Yeah, I guess we were very lucky, because in that project we had almost complete freedom of doing basically whatever we wanted, and we became a little bit crazy, and that transfers like I guess like I was saying, it shows the way we think about living in architecture. And it's a very interesting project, because I don't want to use this word, because sometimes it can say another thing. It's so weird
Yeah.
that we cannot even describe what it is. It's basically 4 units. I'm gonna say units in English is maybe easier.
Yeah.
But when people ask us what it is, if it's an apartment, or if they are apartments or houses or townhouses or villas, we cannot put it on a category, because it's not an apartment, in the sense that each unit is different, and they're not like these units that are like just
exactly the
same and right next to each other. They share some parts of the roof or some walls. They share some views, but they're not I don't know how to translate this. Sorry.
I guess I'm gonna step back a little bit, and I would say that there's a different there are different ways of seeing this, or seeing this project. Since we were also a bit of investors in the project, and this is a project that was made to sell, no, to be able to sell them. When we started to work on the numbers, when we were crunching the numbers, just like you guys said, we saw that we saw an opportunity, because since we were in control of numbers, we saw that we didn't have to go all the way and to exploit the whole terrain or the whole lot, the whole density, in order to make a good business. So when we approach our investors and we said, you know what, we can create something different. We can create something that, and Tulum gave us that chance, that opportunity, since Tulum is in the tropics. It has a jungle. It has a sea right next to it. It's almost a paradise, kind of like Hawaii. And people doesn't really, at that point in time, people don't look at Tulum to be their first house. It's always like a second or third home, right? So it's kind of like a vacation kind of or holiday house. So that gave us the chance to think a little bit out of the box, in the sense that we didn't need to actually sell one more square meter. That wasn't important. The important thing was about the experience and how you feel. And Tulum is so special, just like Hawaii, so special. The environment is it gives you so much that it was, for us, it was kind of obvious to exploit those things, right? Mm-hmm. Those conditions of the environment. So when we, just like Fernanda said, right, architecturally speaking, we kind of went a little bit crazy. If you guys have the chance to analyze the plans and the sections, I think that you will need all of the tools to kind of understand what happens in the building, because I don't think, if you only see the plans, it will be hard for you to understand. If you only see the section, it will be also kind of hard for you to understand, because all of the space is kind of like on all of the 4 apartments intertwined to each other. So they're sharing, just like Fernanda said, they're sharing some roof, and that roof for one of the apartments or one of the units becomes the terrace of the second unit, which is on the top. And that one on the top has 2 floors or 2 stories, and has and once you're inside of the apartment, or once you're inside of your, I'm gonna say inside, but once you go in to your unit, you're actually also outside, because you're entering through a terrace, which is really weird for the people here in Mexico, for people that was going to see we're interested in the project. They were saying, like, what's happening? Because I opened the door, but I'm still outside, because you enter through a terrace, right? Yeah. And if you want to go to the living areas or the common areas, you go to the kitchen or to the dining room, and then you have to go out again and go to go inside of one of the bedrooms, to the more private areas.
But
right?
I think that was the main idea when we were designing, and the design process. We thought about how we make people. I don't want to use the word
experience.
Yeah, I don't want to use the word force.
Yeah.
Because it's a little bit too hard.
Yeah.
But how do we invite people to be part of the environment and to be part of the jungle, even when sadly this site was on more developed area where the jungle is not there anymore. Yeah. But at the end, you have the weather that is telling you that you're in the jungle. You have the humidity, the heat, wind,
the
rain,
salty air, right? The current winds, right?
So we wanted people to acknowledge that they were there,
and constantly be reminded that they're there, that they're not in freaking Oregon or freaking London, right? That they are in the tropic.
So thinking about that and how we could force people to live it the way we want it, that's how we started designing these little boxes that are connected through a green space or an open space. Mm-hmm. So every time you want to go from one space to another, you have to go out. and feel the heat,
Or
feel
the wind,
the wind
or the
or
rain.
the rain. And
Yeah.
that's I get that was a bad point of
Yeah, and I think that's an interesting
yeah.
part of about this, because it wasn't a success. I'm sorry, I'm
No,
gonna
it's not a success.
in terms of marketing, and in terms of now, I mean, is we were having this question the other day that was saying, like, what's your most frustrating project, and what's the most successful one? And our answer was exactly the same. It's the same project. It's Cuatro Cielos, because, well,
Yeah, I guess, I mean, for us, it's a success. We wanted that, and that's
and we
why,
achieved that.
yeah, and we achieved that, and we're very happy with the project. But in terms of popularity, I guess,
Yeah,
you
we had a hard time.
yeah, we had a hard time, but luckily the people that bought the units, they love it, and every time they go there and they tell us, as the time goes by, I love it even more. Like, yeah, and that's a success. We only need one people or two
Yeah.
to love it.
One or two crazy people
Yeah.
to actually invest on the project, right?
Yeah, so one of the other
things we wanted to achieve was that so the users, or the
users.
the final user, was able to, at some point, realize that they are living in a community. So the privacy between the units was very important, but we also let some
Glimpses.
spaces or
Yeah.
glimpses of maybe a hallway or a stair or just
a bridge on the
a
third
bridge
floor or whatever,
where I could see my neighbor pass.
Yeah.
At some point of the
Just
day.
like a shadow or
Yeah.
something that goes by,
But
right?
we wanted to encourage people to have that communication, and like not forget that you live in a community,
Mhm.
and your neighbors are going to be part of your house,
life.
so
Yeah.
your life.
Yeah.
So
Because you're not living, again, you're not living in this place
Yeah.
completely isolated of everything, of the rest, right?
Yeah.
Of the rest of the people.
But definitely the weather was one of the main
One of the keystones, I would say,
we
in terms of
had in
design.
mind when we
designed.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that also was the way of thinking in terms of materials of a building. And here in Mexico, the culture is a bit different than the United States, for example. No, we don't have those harsh conditions that in some of parts of the United States have. No, I think we have been blessed in the sense that we have good weather mostly, no, and mostly in more than in a place like that, right? But also we're a country that is under development always. We don't have the advantages that the rich countries have, no. So we need to be clever in order to accommodate those conditions that always have. Again, Tulum is a really harsh weather in the sense that it's always hot. There's a lot of rain, no. So when we started to think about the building, the solution for us was to have local materials, no, and local techniques to be used in the building. So when we started to think about this, there is one. Essentially, if you see the photos, you see that essentially we have, I would say, one material, or three materials. Yeah. One of them is chukum. Chukum is a local material from that specific region and area.
Yeah.
Which
it is made, but
go ahead.
Sorry, it's made out of the bark of a tree. So what they do is, like, I think they boil that bark and then they get a water.
Yeah.
That is called chukum water.
Which is really, really dark.
Yeah,
really,
it's like almost like wine, the color.
Kind of like maroon and
yeah.
kind of red. And
So that they mix it with
a little bit of gravel and sand and that with obviously water, and you create a paste that you apply to the walls. The interesting part of this material is that it was used by the Mayans back then, way back then, and it's still useful, and it's still cheap under certain conditions, right? If we would like to bring this material to a place like Chihuahua, which is in the north part, it doesn't happen because it gets really expensive
and I don't even know if it works.
If it will work because of it has to work in the conditions with weather that is really humid, that has that humidity in the air, right?
It's basically a plaster, but it has this water that makes it oh, I forgot the word. Water repellent.
Yeah.
So you can use it in a pool, in the bathroom, kitchen, floors, ceilings, interior, exterior. So we wanted to use that material because it's local. It's very easy to get, and I wouldn't say it's cheap, but on the long term, it becomes really cheap because you don't have to do anything else after that.
It doesn't require a lot of maintenance afterwards. Basically, it will start to grow a little bit of mold, so that you can keep it, because at the end you're in a humid place, or you can just grab a sponge or whatever, and you will wash it, right? But again, it was it's this material that made a lot of sense, and it solved a lot of things in a lot of conditions in our building, right?
It's also very fresh,
so it helps. Like it has like I'm not sure if this is a word, but like thermal properties. So if you're inside, it's easily 2 or 3 degrees less
than the outside. It could be right. The sun can hit the wall
the whole day,
and you touch the wall, and it's still
fresh,
cool, and fresh, right? It doesn't absorb all that sun.
Yeah, it's something that was very special for. Very important for us was so people didn't have to turn on the AC all day long. I mean, you can, if you want, you can close the doors, watch Netflix, and turn on your AC. But if we thought, like, if you're in a beach town, you're there because you want to experience that, the heat, all the things that we said. So what we did was, like, in most of the spaces where we could, you can open the whole wall or a big space, and you have cross ventilation.
And it will be much nicer than having the freaking AC.
And then we have the tucum. And we have the tucum that it helps you. I guess during the night and on the hottest days, you will turn on the AC, and it's okay. But it's important that you don't have to depend on that.
And it's taking resources. I'm sorry, it's taking resources out of a place that is not developed enough in order to have those resources. I mean, really, you're in the jungle. You're in a place where it's really harsh and really hard to get things, or resources, energy, that kind of stuff.
Electricity.
So electricity is a constant problem we need to do. And so it is like, okay, you can turn on your AC, or just stand up, walk a couple of feet, open your window, open the back door window, and then you have a cross ventilation, and then you will be able to have your hammock and read a book or whatever you want to do, right? So that's with Chukum. And also, if you see the photos, you'll see that we have some of the walls are made out of stone. All that rock is coming from the actual lot. When we were digging the footings of the building, all those rocks came out of there, and we just repurposed it in a way and just put it in the and that. Well, obviously, it had an economic impact in the sense that we didn't have to buy something else that was coming from somewhere else, no? And I wanted to say this because we were not pursuing a LEED certification we were not doing it because of someone else told us that it was green to do it. It just made sense for us, luckily. And that's something that I would say that in an underdeveloped country, just like Mexico or in the rest of Latin America, most probably in Thailand or Vietnam or these countries, you need to be resourceful. You need to be clever in the way that you use your materials and you use your design.
Yeah.
It has to respond to that. It doesn't it doesn't really it doesn't make sense for us to pursue a certification that was made in a place that has nothing to do with us. No,
Yeah.
Obviously, I mean, I'm saying
It
this
is
in a more extreme way, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, there's a lot of things good about that,
Yeah.
but in for us, for a really small building that is 4 units, which if you think about this, 60 or 70% of the whole construction that does it is housing, is a small scale construction. So it has to make sense, no? So again, another thing, the floors, we don't have flooring. For the most part, the common areas are just gravel, no?
Yeah. So
Because,
we wanted to use the gravel because it's also it came from the site also. It's the stone that you find when you do the footings or
it's everywhere.
Excavation. But also we wanted to return some of the water to the underground.
Yeah, to the underground. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it can absorb again. Okay. And in Tulum, most of the ground is it's
the famous cenotes.
Yeah, it's full with water. So it makes sense.
You don't have to dig a lot, and then you will find water.
It's a chain of caverns.
Yeah.
That are filled with water. So we wanted to be able to at least return a little bit. We're only talking about Cuatro Cielos, but we have another project in Tulum that is very interesting, and that works a lot too with the weather, the climate there, and it's called Nahil. Okay. Unfortunately, we didn't have the chance to take good photographs of that project, and we were not involved in the construction process. So a lot of things changed, but the design and the idea was to raise up the whole building, so we didn't touch a lot of the ground.
Current ground, yeah.
And on the ground floor, we have a central patio, and then we have a front patio or courtyard, and on the back, we also have a courtyard. So what we wanted to do is to bring the air through the building. Through the building.
The cold air, right?
Yeah. So we put water.
Right in the middle of the central patio, we had this water fountain. Right in the middle. I'm sorry. Right in the middle. And since we raised the building like 1.2 meters, since we had this back patio and the one in the front, we were able to have this cross ventilation underneath the building. And just
then once it hits the water
on the central patio,
we have some pools and then a fountain. It's not a fountain, it's just I have the word in Spanish.
Yeah, it's a fountain.
Oh, a fountain.
A body of water, right?
Yeah, body of water.
Pretty Moroccan or pretty Indian, right?
So what we achieved with that is that once the air comes beneath the building, it gets fresh because of the water and the vegetation, the trees, and then it pushes the hot air up, and then all the units, all the apartments, those are the same.
Same layout.
It's more like a typical building. Then all the units have a window to that central courtyard, and we have these wood shades, so you can move them and open it whenever you want. So it becomes very fresh once you open the doors and you have like this chimney.
Yeah, and again,
Yeah.
we think about we constantly think about this idea. We don't really care about how expensive or the materials or how to make it more appealing to the eye. It's just it has to work. If it works, then it will be beautiful in a sense. No, obviously there's certain things that you have certain aesthetic that you're in a way kind of like looking forward, because I mean we're humans, right? I like green and blue, and some other would like, I don't know, yellow and red, right? I mean that's something that it's inside of us, but it has to work. We always say that we really believe in how you experience the space, and that before how it looks. The looks will be just a consequence of how the building works, which is in a way is like this work or form follows function. This kind of like it's kind of like in the same area in a way. But we always constantly think how the final user is going to use the building, and we will not how can I say it? We know that we're gonna fail in some cases because we cannot think how the final user is gonna use it, but we can encourage them to open the freaking window, no, or to open the door, or to do some stuff, right?
But it's always good. I was thinking the other day, like it's always good as a creative person to make room for frustration and make room for failure.
Yeah.
Because from failure, sometimes good things happen.
Most of the time.
Most of the time.
Yeah.
So we have this building that was kind of like a failure in a business model, but we learned a lot, and it's beautiful. Like it's beautiful that came from that failure and learning process. So it's always important to make room in your head for mistakes, failure, for fun.
and it's hard, right? Because at the end, we're in a profession that involves a lot of money. So there's a lot of responsibility also. No, you cannot go crazy. I mean, we do it, but we try to, in a way, to calculate it, but we're gonna fail. So yeah, I guess for us is as I was saying a couple of weeks ago, there's a lot of work involved in each building, in each design. You have to work it out. It's not gonna come down from heaven and saying, you know what, here, this is your design, here it is. And it's a constant process of failure and experiences, and just try it out and just try to put you in the position where you can feel you will be exposed, and you need to push that, right? And try to go through it. And you need, in order to do that, you need to have passion. You need to really like it. I mean, it's not, I'm gonna say something that probably is not gonna be well seen, I guess, but it's not like being an administrator or an accountant. I could never be an accountant, but you need to be. I mean, I'm sure there are passionate accountants out there, but in order to be an architect, you really need to struggle. You really need to feel it. You really need to see it. Just like another thing that happens to us is that we are one of those studios that don't have a lot of work or work done.
A lot of projects.
Because
we have a lot of work.
We have a lot of work. We don't have a lot of projects done. I think we're slowly getting there, but it's because for the most part, or most of the times, we are lucky enough to give birth of the project, and we are from the really early beginning of the really early thoughts of the building. Since for example, we have participating actually like selecting a lot, no, selecting the place where we're gonna build, crunch the numbers, which I think is really really important for an art, for in order to, you need to know how much it's gonna cost, right? You need to have that sensibility too. You need to know how much is it gonna cost to the
Even
the
though
ones that
it
are
never
testing you.
costs what you think.
It's a constant development, right? We obviously do the design. That's the part we love. Even though we're involved in a lot of phases of the project, at the end we're architects, and we do all of these things because at the end we want to be seated 1 or 2 months or 3 months, or I don't know, whatever time frame we have for the design. That's what we love, the design, and to actually see it built, which for us is super super important. Every single time, we don't get tired of the buildings. I mean, sometimes sometimes when you're like with the stress super high, and you're like, I'm done. But at the end, you go back to the building and you say, you know what? Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense what we're doing, right? So yeah, I guess I would say that in our practice, we have been
I guess we're
involved.
lucky
Yeah,
that we were able to be, at least on a couple of projects, we were able to do the whole thing, like with Cuatro Cielos or the Four Skies. We even we were lucky in some of the clients that bought the apartment, they asked us to do the interior design. So we were able to choose the furniture,
that we felt that
everything.
made sense with the
We also chose furniture that makes sense for the building, the weather. That we choose furniture that was gonna resist the weather and it's gonna last a lifetime. So,
for example, this is something really really I mean, we're talking about selecting a lot and crunching the numbers and everything, and now we're talking about how we selected the furniture. And one of the important things about the furniture is that we didn't want to have any nails, or for the most part we didn't want to have any, like we have a couple of screws and so on, but everything is just like matching and just assembled together, because again, there's salty weather, is salty water, and so it's gonna get rust, right? So we actually think about that. And again, for us, the whole process, not it took us, not, I don't know, I 3 or 4 years of our lives just thinking about this. And you need to be comfortable with it. You need to feel that you're doing it because
but you also have to learn when to stop. Because if you don't, then it never ends.
it never ends, right?
Never ends.
All right.